We are given many signals. If a relationship is wrong for you, many signals tend to appear. Why do you think we ignore them?
The first fear I had, I guess, was that if I break a marriage, my kids will suffer.
I should have shared my vision in my head that we were going to sip on mojitos all day at the beach, and he could have been like, "Are you out of your mind?"
And I think everybody has a different level. That's what we have to understand.
Tolerance.
Yeah, and what they accept for themselves.
Namaste, amigos. This is Vanessa and Aesha, two wildly passionate women coming to you from opposite sides of the world, Australia and Mexico. This podcast is for you, about you, all of us, all women from all walks of lives, sharing our stories, our truths, our struggles as we uplift, transform, break boundaries, and grow. Today's topic is about why we overstay marriages, and we're on this theme of talking about marriages and sharing a little bit of our truth and our realities, and this is a good one. We overstay marriages for many different reasons, and there's a lot of women out there that have overstayed for a very, very long time their marriages. And the point of this podcast is really not to take anybody down, but to really honor all of the women that can actually, first of all, stay in a marriage longer than need be, because it's not an easy job to do. And that sacrifice really their essence, right? For a price. There's always a price to pay for that. So, these conversations are really to uplift and to honor ourselves as women, and to understand where the other one is coming from without putting each other down, but on the contrary, learning through people's stories. So, Aisha, how are you?
I am fantastic, Vanessa, and really looking forward to this topic, actually. It's interesting that when we were talking about this topic off camera, how even though, like I say all the time, our stories are so different, there's always a common theme, there's always common reasons, there's always common beliefs, and it's good to be able to share and understand how we all connect based on that. We all have a connection based on the fact that no matter what, for some damn reason, we have these common mindsets or beliefs or
Yeah.
conditioning, and it's good to actually talk about it, being on our journey and just bringing it up. It's important for people to listen to us speak about it, listen to this podcast, and see if they can actually pick it up within their own relationships. I mean, it would save you such a friggin' long time in your own relationship if you start to be aware of this stuff, what we're talking about. And I think that's why we're doing this, is so that there is not a right and wrong, but there is just awareness, I guess. And then when you have awareness to anything, that's when you have true power, because then you're actually coming from it from a point of understanding and having the understanding and the awareness to make a empowered choice.
Absolutely. But I think that we are given many signals. If a relationship is wrong for you, many signals tend to appear. Why do you think we ignore them?
Oh, yeah, you're spot on. We get whispers, and then we get slaps in the face, and then we get pushed over by the universe, and then we're like literally in this dump.
Like this.
Yeah. Not listening because I have better ideas, apparently. And it's really funny to think how it all comes back again to the way we're sort of conditioned. For me, like, let me just sort of go back in my life and think, okay, what was it? What makes you overstay the marriage? What made me? One of the key factors was it was almost like you are awarded to sacrifice. Women are taught to sacrifice. Like, you've made this commitment, you've made this decision, this choice. And a lot of the times, like, I know in my situation, I went against maybe people saying don't, or my family even saying don't. And then you have this thing that you have to sacrifice and now prove
Mm.
that your decision was right. Right. So it's like, no, I can't admit that I made a mistake, or it's not even a mistake, that this could break apart. So it was a combination of, just having this belief that the woman has to sacrifice. Like, once you're there, doesn't matter what's going on, you sacrifice, right? And also prove that you made the right decision. That was a big one for me. And
Do you think that did, first of all, you've been married twice, so do you think you've overstayed both of your marriages? And if so, how and in how different ways did one from the other look?
yeah, so very interesting. When I reflect back to both, there was two common themes that actually went through both my marriages. The first fear I had, I guess, was that if I break a marriage, my kids will suffer. So I will ruin my kids. And that was coming from my own family. That was like, you are going to mess your kids up. Your kids are going to suffer. The best thing for your kids is to have a mum and dad in their home. It did not matter if the relationship was falling apart, if there was screaming or fighting, or there was no even emotions in that relationship. The only thing that mattered was the physical act of a mum and a dad staying together in the house, right? So everything else didn't matter. So that was something that, it's funny, I carried through to the next relationship on my own, even though it didn't work the first time. I don't know why. It was really funny for me to think that that again applies to the second one. So I really noticed that. The other thing that I had to in both marriages, because I was a stay-at-home mum, 100% stay-at-home mum, I didn't have my kids going to daycare or anything, that I lost complete I lost complete control of my own financial stability. So I was so dependent, completely dependent financially in both cases. And man, have I learned my lesson in that. Like, it is fucked, right? Because you're never going to make a decision or a choice that you really truly want to make when you're on the back foot. You're always going to come from it, like, as in survival. What do I need to do to survive? Okay, I need money this week. So my fucking actions are going to come from that vulnerable place, right? My behaviors are going to come from that place. And again, both times I did not learn, right? I just trusted, no, this is going to be different. And I think we do that too for women that have been in a relationship or a marriage, not just once, the second time, we go, oh no, it's going to be different. We didn't learn the lesson the first time. Now I look back and go, hold on, different person, different face, same lessons, and I didn't take them in. So now, second time around, I got it. Where was I limited? Where was I stuck? Where didn't I grow in that relationship? Well, now I know, starting my own business, doing my thing, I will never be in a situation where I am financially dependent. That was a massive one for me, right? Because like the way women hold their kids as a power control, men hold that financial, not everybody, please, talking about majority, and in my experience, right, men hold the money. And that's where I really, really noticed that, I did overstay because of that dependency, and also the fear of losing an identity, right? You are married, this is your family, this is your life. And when you decide to leave a marriage, guess what? All that is shattered, broken. Friendships, everything, right? You are now got a different title. So your title's even gone. Okay, a really silly thing. I have to go through the process of now changing my bank details, my this and that, my last name, my signature. A guy doesn't have to. It's a fucking process, right? It's
And
it's
it's all bureaucracy stuff, all the good stuff that takes a minute and a half.
so that's my experience of like why I overstayed. It really did come from fear, I would say, and fear of losing stability and security.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think fear definitely played in mine too. Um, I left also my whole life to create, or my whole reality being in a big city. I moved to a small island, and I left it all for the sake of the family, and this dream that I had made up in my mind of what it was going to look like. And that was all on me. That had nothing to do with him, because what I should have done is I should have shared my vision in my head that we were going to sip on mojitos all day at the beach. And he could have been like, "Are you out of your mind?" Because that's really what I was thinking. We're going to be hand in hand holding and sipping margaritas, and it's going to be great. And it took such a left turn that I think when it started to go down, I had already had my daughter. And I think kids are amazing, but they come to just rock the boat, and
Yep.
they come to shake your relationship and see if you hang on to this ride, right? And it's a tough one, because all of your demons and all of your value system come into play. And then you've got being tired just from being
Yeah. Yes.
a newly recent mom. And I think the first year of being a newly parents is just a lot. I had a daughter that did not sleep a lot, that cried a lot, probably because of the tension she felt in her house. Poor thing. But it was very, very tough. And I wasn't working, so I remember I wanted my husband to come home and speak to me and have adult conversations, and he was exhausted. He's
Yep.
like, "I don't want to talk about my day." I'm like, "Okay, so what do we have left? Because I don't want to talk about my daughter," right? So, and I could hear myself yelling of like, "Hey, like I'm waving the white flag, and you're not noticing that we're going down." And I almost want to just yell, "Mayday, Mayday, Mayday,"
Yep.
and you're not hearing me. And there was all this fear of not having the conversation. And then I'd have the conversation, and we'd start fighting. And men tend to, when things get like that, they don't want to talk. They cocoon in. And it was very, very tough. It was very, very tough. So there was definitely that fear factor of, is this going to be happily ever after and forever till death do us part? Because this is very scary. But at the same time, it was like, it'll get better tomorrow. Tomorrow he'll be in a better mood, and tomorrow I'll be able to talk to him. And tomorrow turned into weeks, that turned into months, that turned into, and you're waiting for the perfect moment, for the moment you're not too tired, and it was all based on fear. I think that was for me, just holding on to my family, as for with dear life. I think I also went into a marriage where my parents weren't okay with my marriage, my marriage, period. And that was very hard on me. So I had something to prove, and
Yeah.
I was going to make it work if it took the life out of me.
Yeah.
Because I knew I could find, if when you find the will, you find the way. But you both have to want to find the way.
Mm.
And and yeah, it's like we had those conversations in the first podcast. Like all of a sudden you're on two different roads and you're like, I'm all alone on this road with my daughter, and now I'm scared. I need to face up to my family.
Yeah.
And then I had left it all. So where was I going to go?
Yeah.
I didn't want to go back to New York City with my newborn as a single mom. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll go to Miami, or maybe I'll go to Mexico. My parents were living in Bora Bora at the time. Didn't want to go to another island. So I was like, well, now what am I gonna do? I have to start all over. And how do I start all over with a 1 year old? And who's gonna take care of her? And I have no money. And now, so it's all this fear. And it's all the stories that you put in your head. And at some point, I let the stories go. And there's a point where in Mexico, there's an expression, it's the drop that made the water fall, the whole glass shatter. And it was that drop that I said, you know what? The unknown looks better than this.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And you know what's really funny? I was thinking of something like you and I had very similar reasons for why we both overstayed our marriages, right? So it was coming from the feeling of fear, okay, like the unknown, just stability of having a safe place. Like you say, it could be even from physical comfort, like you're tired, you're exhausted. For me, it was financial security and safety because I had given away that power. I had none of it, but I just remembered. So I was talking to another girlfriend of mine, and she was at sometimes telling me all about her relationship, and she was like not happy, and she's spoken to me about leaving. So this conversation was going on for a bit, and every time I sort of checked in with her, she would like always get distracted into, okay, I want to leave, and then she was like, no, I'm fine, and then again something else would come up. I'm fine. Okay. So I was like, okay, this is interesting, because there's a part of her that wants to leave, but she also used to come back at me and like living my best life and doing all this. And I thought, what is that? What is that? Why is she overstaying her marriage? And I asked her, I said, how come you're overstaying your marriage? What is it? And she goes, you know what? I'm comfortable. And that really hit me, because I was like, yeah, man, it was like exactly what you said. It needed one extra drop for that water to overflow, right? For her, and she spoke to me, she goes, I have to go through this. I would have to go through the separation of the assets and the kids and this and that. And right now, the comfort of like not talking back when he's in that mood, or not doing that, or saying what I really want to say, the comfort outweighs what I have to go through.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll compromise these things so that I don't have to fucking face just the process of what. And I explained to her, if you look at something and think, okay, it's just a process, it's just a mechanical process to go from here to there, how do you see that? And she goes, I'm still not ready to give that up. So a lot of women, I know a lot of women that know their husbands have cheated on them, that, they have and it could be vice versa. Like, I'm not just saying men do it, right? I'm just saying in a relationship. And their thing,
Comfort level is more than just turning the eye.
yes,
And I think
because
it's really that. It's how, then you go into the flip side, and when you go into more abusive relationships and things like that, there's also women that stay in these types of codependent, toxic
Yeah.
abusive relationships, right? But it's at some point they break from that. When it's comfortable, there's a level of what you're willing to take for your comfort or for your how your life has kind of unfolded in front of you,
Yep.
and there's a price to pay. Then there's another one that is very different to, a setup that is not as comfortable and that is more on the if I need to get out for my sanity,
Yep. And
right?
I think
That can go under emotional or physical or a plethora of different
yeah. And I think everybody has a different level. That's what we have to understand because
tolerance.
yeah, and what they accept for themselves. And
Yeah.
we're not here to judge, because no one knows the backstory. No one knows why, right? So, and I know myself that going through two marriages, and having the freedom now of it's really weird, but the breakdown of both has given me the freedom now to actually, if ever I go into a relationship or a marriage with so much self-love and wholeness and not needing to stay on for a reason or prove a point or whatever, because the first two didn't work out. So I broke the glass ceiling. I now know it's okay on the other side, right? Hey, what did I fucking learn? Shit, dude, get your finances sorted. Don't
Yeah.
fucking leave that shit. You had an opportunity to learn the first time, you didn't, right? Learn it now. And so I think that was a massive thing for me, is to realize once you do go through a situation or a circumstance where that dream shatters, it sometimes is the best thing that can happen to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think when you're in it, for all the listeners that are listening that are in a marriage that is hard, it's hard to be in a marriage that's not working. It's
Mm.
hard. It's
And
not a
scary.
pretty
And
place. It's
scary.
scary. It feels like walking on ice that's about to shatter.
Yeah. That's a
And or
shit.
and it's so for all of you listeners, there's definitely um I send you a lot of love and a lot of strength, because it takes a lot of strength to really look in and say, this is it. This
Mm.
is it. And how do I make this step to get
Yeah.
to the other side?
Yeah.
Right?
And that's not saying that you in this moment who is overstaying a marriage can't turn it around. So
Right.
we're not saying the only result is to leave the marriage, right? Because I believe too, if you're aware that, hold on, in this moment, I am actually overstaying this marriage because of these feelings or these beliefs. Once that comes into your awareness, you can actually do something about it. Like if I knew this, I would have tried to sort my financial dependency out within that marriage. Or I would have said, hey, you know what? I don't want to identify through this family sort of dynamic only. I want to create my own life and have a independent like identity. So it's not saying that there is only the end, oh, this is on the way out. This is the only path. I do believe that just being aware though, you can shift it, you can change it around.
Yeah. And having instead, I think the way that a woman expresses herself when she's emotional is also not a productive way to get to your partner, because men don't communicate like us. And so there needs to be a cold kind of moment where you sit down and you can say, hey, we need to talk because our ship is going under. But it needs to be from a very relaxed, even though it's hard to do at that moment, right? But it's the way that men communicate, and there's got to be a give and take, because us being neurotic and crazy and listen
Mm.
doesn't go through, and usually men tend to want to shy away from those types of talks. Oh, there she goes again. Oh,
Yeah.
here she goes.
Yep.
Right. So, and we don't want
Yeah.
it to have a productive conversation. That's definitely not how you want to go in.
No, and I think a good way to do that is for you to lead in your actions, right? So if I was to now redo it, I would be like, okay, instead of pointing the finger and saying, do you know what? This is why this is happening. It's you and you and you. I would say, okay, where can I pick up myself? Where can I add value? How can I change stuff around so that I don't feel this way, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's what I've learned is that where I was limited was actually meant for me to grow in that area.
Yeah.
um
Absolutely.
instead of, I know so many single moms that complain about so many different things like time wise, and I don't know this, and this didn't happen, and I want to, but I'm like, you, every one of those is an opportunity for you to actually grow, right? So how would you manage time? Do you need to do this? Do you need to set a schedule? You know, do you need to get up half an hour earlier? Or, you know, I had no knowledge of property because maybe, you know, now start learning about property, start learning about where you can invest money. Like, what would you do? How do you save? Da 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 da. So I do feel that, you know, if you do want to overstay marriages, there's always that space for you to make it back, turn things around, and you know, grow a really healthy marriage. And if you really have looked at yourself and said, I've tried this, done this, worked on myself, and then you still feel like, then it's time to go. Then it's time to leave it with peace. And at least you have grown within the
Yeah.
marriage, and now you're leaving. You're not setting yourself up for shit, this is hard. Now I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. That's not a good place to leave your marriage from. You're going to be in a mess.
And also expecting the other person to save the day is
Oh,
also not going to happen.
that's very true.
Not going to happen. So you definitely, I agree with you. You have to kind of take the bull by its horns and lead with, okay, this is what I'm doing. Do you see me doing this? And not as a result for the other one to do it, but like,
Just
okay,
yourself.
let me get my ducks in a row
Yeah.
and say, hey, we're kind of going down. I'm going to do this. Are you on board? And really start to have that dialogue from, instead of the boat is burning and I'm going down, you know, really kind of
Absolutely.
be a little bit more proactive and you know, definitely have support. If there's counselors out there that are also very couples therapies that are very good to kind of get back on and say, hey, are we off track,
Mm,
right?
yep. So let's just give a parting message to our viewers and to our listeners. The takeaway for me today is all about look into your own relationship and don't point the finger, but ask yourself, where are you limited? Where are you stuck? What are your reasons for overstaying? Because they could be a gift, they could be a message, um trying to, for you to actually up your level, you know, for you to actually be more empowered. And so I'm encouraging all our listeners to actually check that out and ask themselves, you know, where am I stuck? What is my fear?
I agree. I agree. Aisha, thank you,
Thank you, Vanessa. Loved it. Another great chat with you as always.
as always. Stick around. We'll have some more interesting conversations coming your way. Till then,
Ciao.
bye.
See you guys.